Hey, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Chin from Woodgrove Secondary School. So I'll be sharing with you our journey in using the 21CC Navigator in student development experiences. Primarily, I'll share with you three broad areas. Number one is the school context. Number two is some of the details that hopefully will be helpful for you when you want to implement it in your school. And last but not least, some of the preliminary insights that we got from this pilot. So I think what we really started off was really the impetus for the future of learning. We see a commonality in the focus on 21CC development in both the strengths of E21CC as well as EdTech Masterplan. So that's where we started our work at. And as a start, what we wanted to do as a whole school was to actually, number one, focus on a few learning goals of E21CC first, namely, as you see on the above, inventive thinking as well as communication skills. Secondly, at the same time, in tandem, because of the strong alignment in the previous slide, we wanted to also revisit some EdTech pedagogical scaffold practices. So the two that I boxed out over there. So we wanted to start small in 2024. We focused on the three IP departments to kick this off. And where the 21CC Navigator came in was actually as a PD resource for the teachers. So when we wanted to engage the teachers, I think as with all change management, we needed to first engage them. So first thing, we emphasized to them what is the importance of E21CC development. And of course, the next step is capacity building. So in terms of capacity building, we wanted to not find new things to do, but rather focus on what is existing and good. And that is actually some SLS features that we thought that the teachers could use. For example, like gamification, short answer feedback assistant. And of course, we continue this journey when there's more and more affordance of SLS, the different tools. That's with the authoring co-pilot as well as the enhanced short answer feedback assistant. And if you were to think about the role of 21CC Navigator, just now we said that it's a PD resource as well. So where we see it is actually from two angles. Number one, it helps our teachers also to gain some clarity on E21CC, even though this package is sort of designed for the students. And number two, we also wanted the teachers to experience the gamification aspect, and hopefully that can inspire them to incorporate it within their lessons. Likewise, we also share with them the 21CC Navigator toolkits. So just a distinction, the Quest and toolkits are two separate things. And the toolkit, what we wanted to do when we share with them was actually to showcase how short answer FA can actually be helpful to actually strengthen the meta connection of the students and promote deeper thinking. Of course, as I was sharing just now, the authoring co-pilot, we also allow the teachers to get their hands dirty. And I think one of the key things that we brought away was that we have to be intentional and deliberate in connecting the teachers to these resources, let them try, and that will help them in thinking about incorporating it. And so what was shared previously was the 2024 plans, what has happened for 2024, and as we move on forward to 2025, we're thinking about expanding the E21CC focus with additional 2 learning goals, as well as revisiting the remaining 3 of the EdTech practices. So as you can see at the bottom right corner, we are also expanding the departmental involvement now that we had a good start for this year, and expand it to incorporate the other departments. And if you were to take a look at the rightmost box, it's actually the the school-based programs, which is what I will share with you in more details about. So in my job as a year head, I need to prepare the students for certain aspects of student development, and one of the focus that we had for the Sec 2 students is actually to promote ECG. So what we did was to actually consolidate as well as amplify the ECG messaging within this signature program of our school that we call it the Sabbatical Week. I won't go into the details of the Sabbatical Week, but what is always intentional is the reflection process that we get the students to go through after experiencing different activities along in that particular week. So with this reflection, how does the E21CC Navigator come in? It actually comes in to provide the students with some starting points. What do I need to be aware of for my own personal development? And of course, this reflection platform is where they will articulate it, and that will tell them what is their progress in SEC as well as the E21CC. And at this point in time, I thought I wanted to share one thing with you, which is without the 21CC Navigator, traditionally we would have focused just on the social emotional competency. As you will see, the invisible or visible divide between the academic and the non-academic side in contribution to total curriculum. So I think it's with the 21CC Navigator that gives us this good, easy start to at least think about incorporating the E21CC within student development experiences. And how they actually feed back into this entire cycle is if we consider assessment practices. The 21CC Navigator actually sets a standard as a feed-up process for our students, and the feedback is something that is currently being done by the teachers for the students during the sharing or reflection. And of course, in the last slide of my presentation, I'll share with you about the feed forward at the very end. So what are some of the details that I could share with you? If you take a look at the picture on the left, in the ECG guidelines, we look at the 3 different economies of work. One of them is digital. Of course, the 21CC Navigator Quest, there is a wide offering, and we decided to just start with the one on information skills because of the relevancy to the economy that the students were going to explore. And we realized that even after the students going through that package in itself, right, even though the intention really wasn't about information skills, but what we realized was that there was some articulation or some evidence to show us that there's development or at least some progress of the students in terms of the CCI strand. And as part of the final consolidation for the activities, I thought I would just pick up one concrete example to share with you how the students actually interact and experience with this. So if you take a look at the slide on your left is our school's deal model of reflection that we use consistently in all platforms, adapted from Ash and Clayton. And of course, what I given you as a snapshot on the FRQ on SLS for the reflection question was to promote and be able to afford the students to actually go into a little bit of metacognitive thinking. So the one in yellow boxes are extracts from a student. The student, in the first question when we ask them what activities do they usually do, so these are the one that's listed. And then the second one, I picked this because I hope that it will inspire everybody because it's a teacher job. This student wants to be a teacher in the future. So yeah, I think it's a good job to be. So what the student actually reflected in the last part, what has changed? Because as you look at the CAIT strand later on, what we are looking at is actually to enhance and regulate thinking from different multiple perspectives. And we realized that the student, when she was trying to draw a representation of a teacher, is more of the socializing part, talking with the students, which also reminds us that maybe when we are teaching, the interaction is more important than the subject content. And also, of course, she realized that, hey, my job as a teacher is not just about socializing with students, but there's also the content aspect that I need to teach the students. So that helped her to adjust. And if you remember, this sabbatical week, we actually ran it for the Sec 2 students. And if I were to try and put a evaluation lens and see where does this particular reflection actually come in terms of the developmental milestone, we see that it's actually closer towards the upper sec. And I thought I'll share 2 interesting things with you at this point in time. Number one, if you remember, there was this feedback process, right? So we tried to see whether we can use the short answer FA to start with, even before we knew that there was a CAIT toolkit. And number 2, this reflection actually came from a student who is dominantly taking G1 subjects. So I thought that was a good insight for us that, learning and progress for E21CC shouldn't be just constrained to the traditional boundaries of academics. And so, as I promised in the last slide, where does this feed forward actually come into? So in order for the students to progress and develop, they need a coherent task design. So this coherent task design can only come about if the program is designed properly and if the student know where is their current progress. So if you take a look at the 2 points that I've listed over there, what we are intending to do for 2025 in terms of the student development experiences as part of the whole school's effort for E21CC scaling up is to provide a milestone check for the students during the week, get them to go a little bit deeper now that I know where I am. And secondly, aside from just the sabbatical week in itself, there are other programs that the students go through. Can we use this information more meaningfully to engage with them? And last but not least, if I were to close with just one key learning point that I had, which is in the planning of the sabbatical week, there wasn't any intention to infuse it at the end of last year. But coincidentally, I think the stars are aligned, and what happened was we got to know about the 21CC Navigator, and that gave us a good start. And I think now we are more confident of rolling it out for the next year in the other programs. And I thought the main learning point was be courageous to try. Thank you.